Okay, what we're looking at is from a bad guy's perspective, and let's say that he's going to shoot at you from 25 yards. And here's you. Notice that he has a lot of elevation where he can hit you if he decides to try to shoot you standing up like this. Now, what people forget is there's different positions you can shoot from that'll actually protect you a little bit better. Because even though at 25 yards, if you run around like this and try to shoot back, sometimes you might not be as accurate. So all the running and stuff like this might not help. Whereas what could help is something like reducing your size for return fire into a kneeling position. And if you look at the kneeling position, it's about 50% as far as the elevation. And the bad guy has to know his pistol. He has to know his pistol's drop and his windage to successfully return fire and hit you. So it makes you a harder target because you're a smaller target. And then if you want to go even further, like let's say that you're at even longer range, or you could, whatever range you think it would work, laying. When you're laying down, you have the head and the chest and then the rifle or gun right here. And you're a very, very small target compared to kneeling and standing. You're a harder target to hit. And not only that, when you're laying, let's say you do get hit. Chances are, if you don't get hit in the chest or the head, if you should get a bullet like over the top of you, hitting your leg or your back or something like that, you're still covering most of your vitals because most of your vitals are lower to the ground. So that's the point I'm trying to make, is that you want to make yourself a smaller target. So, and a lot of people at long distance, once again, will say, well, why not just be mobile and run around like this? Well, you could do that, but then you could get hit too. So, and the other thing is when you're mobile from longer distances like this, you're not going to be able to make shot placements as well, because if you're at 50 yards or 100 yards and you're going like this, maybe even 25 yards, running around trying to make a shot at that distance, it's going to be much more difficult than if you just took the time to just kneel down really quickly and take a couple shots and hit the bad guy here. Once again, the bad guy has to prepare himself if he doesn't know his pistol. And most people don't at long range because they don't know their limitations of their pistol. And that's why I tell people you have to know what your pistol will do 50, 100 yards because of the fact that if you have somebody standing like this and you don't know your pistol, you're not going to be able to hit them. Same with this. You have to know your bullet drop and your windage and your elevation, or where to hold the sights. So like this right here. And vice versa. If this camera was you rather than the bad guy, and you're trying to shoot him, which is the bad guy, if the bad guy was doing the same thing you were doing, now you're going to have to know your pistol. You know, how far does your pistol drop at 50 or 100 yards? Do you know? Have you ever tried it? It doesn't matter what kind of pistol you have. Even if it's a Ruger LCP, you should be taking them shots at 25 yards and beyond so that you could know what your pistol can do, know your limitations, because one of these days you might need your pistol to save your life, somebody else's life, and you might not have time to go back to the car to get that AR-15, which is kind of like a paperweight these days because you can't have them in public places. So even though the AR-15 is a nice rifle, there's so many places where you cannot have it with you. unless you have a backpack pistol. But the thing is I'm just saying that most of the times you're going to have a pistol defending yourself, and you're not going to have time to go back to the vehicle because things happen quickly. By the time you get back to the vehicle and you get the AR-15, things are already gone downhill. People have been killed, one of your family members or something like that. So it's important to know the range of your pistol and to treat your pistol as if it were a rifle. I know that sounds crazy, but you have to change that thing into thinking that it's a rifle. And like I'm saying, if these are the bad guy's positions right here, and let's say it's just one guy, you would have to know where your bullet is dropping at 50, 100 yards, even 25 yards. So it gives you kind of a perspective, and it also shows you that you can become a smaller target, which is harder for return fire. So, and this is a concept that law enforcement used decades ago when they were out on a street or something. They didn't have cover. They would either go down to kneeling, or they would go down to prone or some other position where they can make more accurate shots. And the key is finding out at each distance standing accuracy, kneeling accuracy, and laying accuracy. Try them out. 25, 50, 75, 100 yards, and get to know your pistol better so that you can know what you can shoot at certain distances. And also remember that you, by doing this, you're becoming a harder target for the bad guy that probably hasn't practiced, probably doesn't know his range of his pistol and stuff like that. Whereas you can do that from now on. You can find out what is your range and the drop of the bullet and stuff like that. And this is why it's very important to have accuracy in your ammunition. Even if one hollow point, for instance, is better than another as far as penetration and expansion, you want maximum accuracy. So you're going to have to pick accuracy first over penetration, expansion, and stuff like that. But the first thing is a reliable feeding in your firearm for a hollow point or whatever defense round you're going to use. Second is accuracy. You have to be able to hit the target. If you can't hit the target, it doesn't matter if the expansion or penetration is much larger in another hollow point. So many people get caught up in ballistics gel and stuff like that, and it's fine and dandy to watch that stuff. But if you're doing ballistics gel and you got a big wound channel and you have high penetration, if you can't hit the target, it doesn't matter, because you're not going to drop that blood pressure by hitting the heart, and you're not going to hit the noodle box either, the ramen noodles in the brain bucket. So you have to make sure that you know your pistol and you know your shot placement, and not just center of mass. I'm talking about a 4-inch circle that you practice with when you target practice. You want to make sure you're shooting at a 4-inch circle, because within center of mass there's still places where blood pressure will not drop immediately like the heart would drop immediately. The heart is the greatest source of the blood pressure that drops the oxygen so it can't get to the brain. And obviously we know that the ramen noodle bucket is the place where you want to go for lights out. But if you can't get lights out and you're going for the chest, you have to remember that it's not just center of mass that you want to strive to be accurate with. You want to try for a 4-inch circle on your steel or your paper targets. Thanks for watching.